up? This is Elia Einhorn. Welcome to the Talkhouse podcast. Today we're broadcasting live from Sonos flagship store here in semi-sunny Soho, Manhattan, NYC. We're posted up in 101G. That's the soundproof booth, vinyl listening room downstairs, tape wall curated by Thurston Moore. And we've been doing some very cool talks here. The Talkhouse has been curating a series of conversations between artists like Kathleen Hanna and Meredith Graves, DJ Premier, and Prince Paul. We've also had the Flaming Lips' Wayne Coyne. We've had Todd Barry and Chris Gethard. And most recently, David Cross in conversation with comedian, rapper Jean Grey and the Strokes' Fab Moretti. Today's talk is a little bit different. This is the first in a collaboration that the Talkhouse is doing with Food Republic, where we're going to be exploring the creative intersection between food and music. Now, to introduce our guest for the day, I'd like to welcome Richard Martin, who's the editorial director at Food Republic.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks to you gentlemen for being here. Just wanted to introduce them briefly. ASAP Ferg.
Hey, what's up, man?
How are you? Thanks for coming on the premiere edition of this.
Thank you for having me.
Your music is unbelievable. 2 albums so far and a mixtape on the way. Still striving, right?
Still striving, yep.
Right. And your first album, Trap Lord.
Yep.
It's also now a brand, right?
Yep. It's a clothing brand now. Yep.
And what else you got going on? You got some cool...
Right now with Trap Lord, we on our second shoe with Adidas and capsule collection, clothing collection, which should be dropping real soon. Also, I am a creative director for Uniform, which is a brand that helps kids get uniforms in Africa. And I just have a lot of things going on. A Goldie, I just did a collaboration with them. Denim collab. We just have a lot of things as far as fashion and art goes. And more music.
Yeah. All right, looking forward to it. And I'm very happy to be sitting next to Andrew Carmellini. He's one of my favorite chefs in the city. He has, up to 13 restaurants now?
Yeah, I said 13 before. It's 11 and 2 bars.
Right. And mostly in New York, but he's starting to expand. He's got a Dutch right around the corner from here at the Sonos headquarters here, and also a Dutch in Miami.
Yeah, Dutch in Miami.
And you have some restaurants opening in Baltimore now?
Yeah, 2 places in Baltimore now. Baltimore's got a cool history, good grit to it, good realness there. So yeah, we did 2 projects there. 1 hotel just opened, beautiful hotel in Fells Point, and we're going to do an American restaurant next to this rye distillery that just opened called Sagamore Rye.
Very, very cool.
Maryland has a long history of making rye whiskey, and so we're going to be a part of that. It's kind of cool.
All right, sounds good. And Locan de Verde, of course, is one of the old school restaurants in your portfolio. It's one of the best. Lafayette, also right near here, up in NoHo. Andrew's the head of the NoHo Hospitality Group. Ferg here is, of course, part of ASAP Mob. So we've got 2 leaders in the room, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys to let you be the guests on the Talkhouse.
All right.
No doubt. So what's up?
What's up, man?
I'm cool, man. So just to cap off, we got into discussion about leadership and having 2 bars and 11 restaurants. That's a lot to manage. And you're sitting here calm, you're not jittery, you're not like about to lose all your hair. How do you manage to keep your sanity?
People. It's a people business. I didn't get into it for the people part. I got in it because I like to make stuff.
Right.
And I like to make tasty food and cook for my family.
Right.
And but I didn't know, I could do it myself.
Right.
But then once you have your own business, or once you're the chef of a restaurant that has to cook for a lot of people, you got to convince people to help you out.
Right.
And kind of do it that way. So that's really the. I was into music and I was into food when I was a kid. I was never going to college. That was never going to happen. And it's a little bit the same thing, working with a producer. You have to extract good stuff out of people.
Right.
And that always, it's always changing, right? The people part's always changing, really.
Right. At what age did you first open your first restaurant or bar?
Oh, I was late. I didn't go into business myself till I was 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do it just solely yourself, or you had a business partner
No, I had. Well, it was a funny road to get there because I did like a lot. I worked in Europe. I did like a lot of training in Europe, and I was like a real serious chef first before I went into business.
So you went to school first for it?
I went to school. You don't really need to go to school.
Yeah.
It's like not really necessary. But when I was 18, like this is like 1990, it was good for me then.
Right.
But I waited a long time before I made mistakes on other people's money first before I did it with my.
Then you was able to pay them back once you started making your own money.
Yeah, I kind of like made some mistakes running other people's places.
Right.
And then, but my first place at La Conda Verde, it was a bunch of partners there. Robert De Niro is my partner there at the hotel.
Okay.
And I have my guys that like run the business with me that are my partners. And
so it's all about like connections and connecting the dots, really.
yeah, and we were talking about this earlier, restaurants, it's different. It's different than making music, right? You work on a song or you work on a beat and you're in the studio for a couple of days and you're just like working on your vision.
Right.
And then it's done, right?
Right.
You get the vocals right, you get the snare right, you work on this stuff and then it's done, you kind of like put it away. Restaurants they change every day.
Right.
Yeah. The customers change, the employees change.
The food goes bad.
The fish changes, right?
Yeah.
Like everything changes.
Fish of the day.
Yeah. But
Catch of the day.
Yeah. So it's the people part.
Yeah, my dad had a restaurant and he had a game room and he had a boutique in Harlem. And he just had multiple spots that he opened and closed.
What kind of food did you have there?
It was fast food.
Fast food.
It was the name of it was called Heggy's.
Eggies?
Heggy's. I don't know where he
cool.
got the name from, but yeah, it was like hot dogs, burgers, and
I just
like
opened up my first
milkshakes.
fast food place right here.
Oh,
Mr. Dips.
Mr. Dips, shout outs. I always stopping by.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like just to see him like having to get up every morning and, run to the Bronx to go get like 1,000 Frankfurters or whatever the case may be. It was just like, man, you say 13 restaurants, that just, I was seeing him do that for one spot and it was like, a hole in the wall. I can't even fathom what you would have to go through on a daily basis and how many calls and emails and how are you living life? Like, when are you, like, what does your wife say about all of this? Like,
I just came back from the weekend. I had to figure it out. You got to get someone else to get the Frankfurters for you.
Yeah, of course.
But you got to work. That doesn't happen like day one though. You got to build it. Yeah,
exactly.
You gotta build it.
And how do you pick, how do you find management, like people that is just like warriors that's gonna bat for you? Like, because every leader wants their workers or employees or help to be as strong as they are. Like, you want to train, your workers to be as tough as you are. So how do you manage?
Well, you got to inspire them, right?
Right.
And
are you like Wolf of Wall Street, like telling everybody, like amping them up, like on a loudspeaker?
There's a little bit of that, There's a little bit of that. I can't be at every place every day, so that's like more kind of global kind of way to do that.
Right.
But yeah, you have to find the right people with the right background,
right.
And we promote from within, which I think is really important, right?
Word of mouth.
Because it's like a culture. I'm sure, like, and they said mob. There's like a culture involved, right?
Right.
So that doesn't come naturally. People have to learn it.
Definitely.
People have to like understand it,
right,
to be able to kind of like make it go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit the same.
Yeah. No doubt.
So we were talking before about art.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about you were pulling
Painting.
canvases, and I was saying that's the hardest thing for me to do is to do that.
Yeah. To like just what? Is it hard for you to think of something from scratch? To like really?
I think it's more of a dexterity issue, right?
Oh, like hand and eye coordination type thing.
I mean, I can butcher a lamb, no problem, but to draw something on using like
it's an art in that too. But I would say like I don't think there's any. You can't call art wrong.
I mean, yeah, like Rothko is just a whole
colors.
like seven of the colors and. Agnes Martin, who's like one of my favorites, is just like really like lines, very, very calm,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I love Rothko, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just painted his moods like it was like different kind of whites and different kind of blues, and it was black on black, but it's like you could tell the difference. Like, even like Francis Bacon, with his moody kind of colors and stuff. And they all got different styles. Even Keith Haring with like just his line work, which is like inspired by the African art. I just think that, like, you know, everybody just likes what they like. And you have Picasso who said it took him years to learn how to draw like a child. Who's to say, you know, what you drew or what colors you was attracted to wouldn't resonate with the world? So I wouldn't say, you know, don't knock yourself. Just try it and put it out and see what happens.
Yeah,
that
true.
might be a whole nother career path for you. For real.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, Basquiat painting just sold for like $100 million.
Yeah.
That seems like the business you would want to be in. For real.
If he was around, he'd be cashing in on it.
Yes. I knew, I had a friend that he's a art dealer and art collector, and he brought a loft off of a Basquiat painting. He might have sold it for like, I'm not even sure how much he sold it for, but it was amazing at that time that he was able to get a home off of a painting. But like now it's like $100 million. Wow. Like, and then hearing Jay-Z rap about it, like, okay, let me check more into this. You know, I went to school for art. I went to art and design high school. So, you know, I've always been into creating and innovating art and using different mediums for art, whether it was painting or fashion. I always was into that
How did you make the move from because it's hard, right? Music business is hard. You talk about restaurant business being hard, but like music is really hard. And how do you make the move from like, all right, you know, I got these ideas, I got this skill. How did you find out to find that path?
You know what's funny? I think the path found me, honestly, because there's no way like I ever wanted to be a rapper. Like, I never wanted to be a rapper. I wasn't like a kid like, yo, I finna be like the dopest rapper ever. Like, no. I was looking up to like Karl Lagerfeld and like, you know, Yves Saint Laurent. Like watching their documentaries as a teenager, like thinking I was gonna be on my way to being a fashion designer. I just happened to know how to rap. But thank God I knew how to rap because it gave me the platform to do everything else I would want to do with the world. And today, with the internet, we just in a place where we could just do whatever we want anyway. It's a do-it-yourself vibe now. Like, you know, kids is recording themselves.
Yeah, you can put it out there really easy.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, like I never really I wasn't pushing to do music. Once, I seen the powers was coming to me as far as like, yo, people talking about they want to sign me, this, that, and the third. They looking at the group. Then we started like kind of zeroing our focus on music. Now we're working on a product. But before it was just for the sport of it. Like I'll just write rhymes with no hooks, like really long raps, 84 bars, just to say I wrote 84 bars. Wow. And memorize it all day. And like we'll go to different people's neighborhoods and battle them. But like what made us different was we dressed different. We was like fly, like we dressed like how people dressed in the village in Soho with like polo shirts and preppy and long trench coats. And so we already stood out from everybody in the hood. So like once we opened our mouth and we had the words to go with the style, it kind of like, it just resonated. And I think once we spoke and we put it on wax, for all the kids that wanted to be unique and different, we stood up for them. Because we came from a tough place where it's like you get ridiculed, you get criticized, and people was scared to think out of the box. So once they seen that we was from, you know, the ghetto, and we was thinking out of the box, we was hanging out downtown, going to the fashion parties, and we was rapping about real neighborhood stuff, like people, like it's like just those two worlds collide like that together, it's just hard to shy away from. So I think the world just embraced it in a major way. And I think we shifted the game, not to be like all like not cocky or nothing, but I think like once we hit them, like we kicked down the door of like just this difference, rocking Rick Owens and grills at the same time, they was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And we're still doing that. Like, you know, we did it with fashion. I think we kind of solidified that. Now it's like, all right, you know, Ferg is painting now. Ferg is sitting with a chef. Ferg is into culinary arts. And wanting to engage in conversation that way. So I think the world gets to see more of the lifestyle that way.
The more you do, so here's a question for you: the more you do, and the more you put yourself out there, whether it's art, new album, clothing line, do you pay attention to criticism?
Yes, I do, but only constructive criticism.
Right.
Like if it's just like lame people like trolling on the internet,
Right.
I'm not into that. No way I'm buying into that. It's not good for you. I have a filter.
Yeah, I had to learn that a little bit, especially because like when I was coming up, there was no internet, there was no forums, there was no there was no commenters. You just had your customers, you had your people you were cooking for, and that was it.
Right.
But then that started, as I was just starting, and you have to kind of you have to remove yourself from it.
Yeah, definitely. Like for years, like I didn't follow comments on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought it was stupid, but I found myself comfortable and confident enough to start reading them, I would say this year. Like I've read like comments from my old album and songs, and I would read like how like certain songs, I got a song called Cocaine Castle, which is like about a big crack house basically, and just like, all of the things that go wrong in this crack house. Like you see your lawyer, your doctor, your preacher, your babies is in that crack house. And like it's kids that's like saying like this song helped me get through my drug addiction, and I was like my life was going downhill, and you just see like how impactful a song is, and it kind of guides me in like just making more music to help people, basically, I would have to say. Because it's just like, yes, like I can make the turn up fun songs, but at the same time, I want to use my voice to
Like
change,
therapy in a
help
way
change.
for people.
Yeah, definitely. Like what one of the first things that kind of dawned on me that was like, man, your voice is so powerful, is I met this kid. He was a cancer patient in South by Southwest, and he said Hood Pope helped him get through his, chemo therapy. He was losing hair, and he was real slim, skinny, light, and like the kid that was sitting in front of me, he was like healthy, he was bigger, stocky. And I was like, man, there's no way that you was just like this, in the picture. And his mom started crying, his pop started crying. And then that was when I realized, like, whoa, like my music is really a tool to like make change and do different things with it. Not to be all preachy and stuff, but at the same time, I'm mindful of it because that's a power that if you learn how to control it and just be like to hold it, then you can make anything happen.
Yeah, but how do you balance that in the commercial part of what you do?
It's always going to be a constant battle because people like what they like at the end of the day.
True.
Some people may like the old Ferg, just like, as you get more knowledge in your field and you start creating all of these things that you think is wonderful and you growing with your different dishes, they might just like the stuff that you was coming up with when you first started.
Happens, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, just like Jay-Z said, you want my old stuff, buy my old album.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I can say. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, he's got that skit. We used to do it in the shows where he'd like pull out the old records and be like play like 2 bars from it and be like, nah, fuck that, like nah, like
yeah. Like I don't trip off that because as a human being, we must evolve. Period. Not just as artists, we gotta evolve. We gotta grow. So for my true fans, they understand. I believe they understand because they follow me. They know what I'm going through, and those are the ones who really care. Then you have people that just love the fluff and they want to hop on the bandwagon when everybody hop on the bandwagon. I guess that's cool too, to a certain extent. So I mean, you just got different people for different reasons. It's cool.
Yeah, I had my nephews this weekend, and they were playing some Migos, and I didn't grow up with that, right? But they're like 10 and 12,
right?
And they were like all over it, and I had to stop myself because I remember when I was their age and I was playing the music I was listening to. And I remember, now I remember my grandfather. My grandfather listened to it. I forget what it was. He said, "That's horrible. That sounds like whatever."
Jibba jabba.
And at first you have to evolve, man. You have to appreciate where things are in like a certain time.
I've learned that too because I got a real old soul, and like what I see, because I study a lot of I study Kraftwerks, I study like KRS-One, I study like,
Well, yeah, you had the guests with like Onyx and Bone Thugs and which was that's cool because you have like a little bit, the old school guys on there that.
But I really like their styles though.
Yeah.
Like I really love their styles, and that's the reason why like you hear Bone Thugs and Onyx on my first album, and it's a way of paying homage. I always say if I wanted to create history, I'm gonna literally put myself with history in order to make the history.
Right.
When they talk about Bone Thugs, they got to talk about Ferg now too. Like so I'm a part of the history automatically, but as far as like just like the newcomers, I feel like nothing under this earth is really new. I mean, under the sun, sorry. Nothing under the sun is really new. Migos remind me of Daz Effects or something like,
a little bit,
and you got to imagine what that style was like when they first came out.
It's harder to claim something's new because now the web, you can't be like, this is new, even though you like appropriate it from somewhere else.
Yeah, But I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of the stuff that I've been hearing, like kind of been sounding really new. Like Uzi sounds new. Like his approach to music sounds new. Mm-hmm. Young Thug sounds new. Like I sound new. Migos sounds new to me, but I'm just saying like the whole like package of it. They just remind me of Daz Effects because they do like a lot of tongue twisting words and like they got the locks in their hair. Like they just remind me of what Daz Effects was like back then.
Production is new now too. You have guys are rapping over some spacey stuff now that wouldn't exist like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and those like all the producers that are out now, they're way different than the Just Blaze and Swizz Beatz and that kind of stuff.
You know what's happening too is like rappers just don't want to be rappers no more. If you ask anybody, any rapper, like, yo, you a rapper? And they were like, nah, I do this, I do that, I do that. Like, nobody wants to be called just a rapper.
I know some chefs like that. They don't want to be chefs anymore. They want to be they want to be impresarios.
Exactly. What's that? Impresario.
Like a jack of all trades, kind of like.
Got you.
Kind of like. But it's good to expand.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good to expand.
Definitely. I embrace being a rapper, but I would have to also be like a rapper just to say like, don't limit me just to rap and I'm an artist. Like, don't expect me just to stick to one medium. I know how to rap very well. Like, I could rap, I could do this, I could do Backpack. I was just in the studio with Premier. I could do that, because I grew up on that and battle rap. But I also can do melody and, do melodic things and, I'm willing to try different things. Like, if you look at my music, I got, like, David Bowie. I got, like, I got Kendrick. And I got Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. I got, like, different stuff. Aretha Franklin, because I'm trying to bring something to the table. I'm not trying to continue what we've been having in rap music. And that's what I think the new artist is trying to do. That's why it sounds so different and airy, and because they're bringing in rock music. They're like, Uzi reminds me of like TRL, like, MTV, like Green Day, like, stuff like that. To some people I may remind them of a little bit of Bone Thugs, ODB, and Wu-Tang, or
It's like I tell my chefs, you got to you collect different voices as you move along, right? You get influenced by different things, right? And so it's like the stuff you grew up with and the stuff you have along the way, and you got to take it and make your own voice. Mm-hmm. Otherwise you're just kind of doing the same thing.
Right, you got something right here.
Oh yeah.
No, I can't have my man out here looking crazy, man. Yeah, but
thanks, man.
No doubt. But Yeah, man, it's exciting. At the same time, it's a business, and just like I could imagine, in the food world, they want you to make a certain thing that's just gonna make money or something like. I don't know how does that work?
Well, I mean, a certain part you do, right? You got to make the business run,
You
right?
got to make a cheeseburger.
Yeah, it's well, yeah. You got to make it. Not all the places have cheeseburgers,
Right.
but man, they sell.
Yeah.
People like the cheeseburgers.
Do you just have a cheeseburger? Do you have some chicken fingers? Yeah.
Yeah, no, we make some burgers at some spots, but that's because we like to,
Right.
And it's like I try to balance the commerce of it and kind of like what I want to do. And
How do you keep yourself cool and like brand control, like to make sure your brand is not like all watered down and it gets funky and corny?
we do different things, like every spot's a little bit different.
Yeah,
You know, it's not. We don't have like 13 locations. Anything. It's the same thing. Every spot's got its own soul,
Right.
which I think is really important. Partly because the people that work there and the way it evolves, and there's like my original vision and how I do things,
Right.
and we like obsess over everything, the design and the music we're gonna play and the cocktails and what the name is, and I mean we get crazy geeked out in this stuff.
So it's opposite of that McDonald's movie. Did you see that McDonald's
I
movie? I love that movie.
It was about doing everything the same.
Yeah, it's about like basically making everything a factory.
Those
Microwave
guys lost out. Those guys, the McDonald brothers.
Yeah, they lost
Yeah.
out, but they was being rude in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I guess they got what was coming to them.
Yeah, it's a
That's
different world.
interesting. What did you take out of that movie, like when you watched it?
It's interesting because that came out about this. We did this like little burger thing out in Brooklyn, which was like probably the most fun I ever had. Like even though like I have a very high end kind of fancy background,
Right.
like the burger thing was so much fun just because it was burgers and ice cream,
Right.
and it was low pressure, right?
Yeah.
So we watched that when it first came out, and like we're just talking about that, and like
Yeah.
not that we
Did it
think
like
we're gonna do-
motivate you to like just pump out some burgers? I know it motivated me. Like, man, I gotta get to the studio and just make mad music. Like,
Yeah, the hustle was pretty cool in that.
yeah, I loved the strategic moments in it where he was like, man, they try to cut me out the deal, so I'm just gonna buy the land.
Yeah, that was smart.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love stuff like that.
I wish we could do that in New York.
Yeah, right. So expensive.
It's crazy.
What about Burnt? You seen the movie Burnt?
That was one of those things like I just didn't want to see it. You do your thing all day and then you don't want to
you
like
don't
go
wanna-
home
yeah,
and like
yeah,
you
watch
want to
that, yeah.
you want to like do something completely different.
Yeah.
And it seemed a little dry, a little. He's a good customer like of our places.
Oh,
so
get outta
yeah.
here.
So I don't want to like talk too bad about it, but it's a little idea. It's a drama, right?
Exactly.
So
Well, do you watch Chef Table on Netflix?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, one of my favorite chefs. I never met him, but I think he would be one of my favorites if I ate his food. Would have to be Francis Malman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just the way he cooks outside and all of that. Like, I think it's just
You can
cool.
go down to Miami. He's got a place in Miami now.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's
I
up
thought I was going to have to go, like, all the way to the...
down to Uruguay or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's I think a lot. He influenced a lot of people without ever going to that restaurant.
Right.
Just the idea of like cooking outside and all those different kind of like
The decor.
ways to do that.
Yeah. Like, he reminds me of, like, if Ralph Lauren was a chef, he would be, like, Francis. Just because of the style, the colors.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got that country style a little bit.
It's real poetic in a way. Like, he's sipping wine in a boat with, like, cooking fish in the ground. Yeah.
I mean, the best thing I made last summer, right? Because I have a place out in the North Fork in the Hamptons, and
Nice.
the best thing I ate last summer was cooked over the fire. Yeah, like a real fire, not like
Yeah.
briquettes or anything like that. It's just a whole fish we caught. We caught a whole fluke,
Yeah.
and we cooked it over the fire. It's very primitive about it. Very kind of like elemental.
Yeah.
That you can't. It's hard to replicate that kind of thing in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went to Sag Harbor in the Hamptons, like, I used to go visit my friend's grandmother in Sag Harbor. We used to hit the beach and they used to do bonfires, and like it would be like these like guys that lived on the beach, and they'd be doing the same thing, like leftover wines that the restaurants throw out, and like they'll go catch fish. They'll cook the fish over the fire and like
Not
drink
bad,
the
right?
leftover wines. And I'm like, this is a way to live.
It's not bad.
It's pretty cool.
2 hours
Very
from the city, too.
bohemian, like just outdoors. Fly shit. I would love to live like that, honestly. Like, I just, sometimes it's like, for me, simple is better.
Yeah.
We complicate our lives in a lot of ways, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm trying to we were talking about social media before. I went 8 days, the last 8 days, no social media.
Wow, so I just did the same thing.
Because I went on vacation and I didn't post anything and I didn't look either. That's the other thing is about looking. I just turned the brain off
Right.
for 8 days.
No, you need that.
Yeah.
I made a song called Silence, which basically just, it was this whole thing I had went through. I had went to Africa and I was putting uniforms on kids. I spent 2 weeks out there. And I couldn't even really take in the whole experience of me being out there. I was helping. Of course, my hands was moving. But it just was all of these voices in my head, release dates and deadlines and all of this and that. And I was just like, whoa, let me just stop for a second.
You couldn't be in the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't even be in the moment with the kids. I would see it was kids running around, no clothes on, eating off the floor and stuff like that. And I really couldn't take in the experience. I can say it was humbling, which it was humbling seeing it. It kind of put a new perspective in my head, but really I couldn't even really be in the moment. And that bothered me. So when I went on tour, I did 2 months on Future Tour. I took all the social medias off my phone, and I gave my cousin, who's my assistant, all my social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all of that. And I was like, yo, whatever I want to post, I'm going to just send it to you and you can just post. I don't even want to see it. I don't want to be on Instagram. Instagram booty pictures be popping up and all of that. You don't want to be on there just looking at mad booties for mad hours.
2 hours go by, no problem.
Yeah, hell no. And you just get caught up in that and you be like, man, what am I doing with myself? I could just imagine, because I read RZA's book. Are you a fan of RZA?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has a book and it just talks about the Shaolin monks, how they just go and sit in the Shaolin temples and meditate for years. I could imagine they thinking level, where their minds go and what they can do with their bodies and what powers they develop just by having no distractions and just something as simple as silence. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I kind of went with my head. It's just I want to be the best artist I can be. Well, how can I do that if I keep getting distracted with all of these things?
Yeah, it's hard to have a space where you can just think and do that, because there's all this other, there's the commerce of what you do.
Right.
There's the kind of putting stuff out. You have to, as an artist, you have that pressure to put stuff out.
That's why I'm a big fan of people like Frank Ocean, who can disappear off the scene and just live. Every time I talk to him, he's like, yo, I just moved from London. I'm going to move to Japan. Last time I spoke to him, he just lived in Japan for about a year and some change. Yo, I'm moving back to LA. I'm thinking about it. Or it's just cool to see that, he actually taking time off to be a human being. You have to be human and live through situations in order to write about them or even create. You know what I'm saying? And people just expect you to kind of be, a machine. I be telling my managers, yo, dogs, I'm not inspired right now. I got to find the inspiration. I got to get around the art community again and have those conversations. I got to talk to you,
I went down a YouTube rabbit hole the other day about the Beatles. And it kind of blew my mind a little bit because they went from 1964 to 1969 and put out all that material in that time. I don't know how many albums, 9 albums, so many songs. It's unbelievable that they did that before, and be able to put out that much material.
Right.
It's an incredible amount of time. And we talk about nothing I would rather do than to go sit on a beach and grill things over like, the fire in like Uruguay for like, just to like come up with some new ideas.
Right.
Because it's amazing that they did that, especially music, they did that in such a short period of time.
Right.
When you think about that, if they had social media and they had this kind of like other next level of stuff to like pay attention to,
Right.
would that have happened, that kind of output.
Yeah, I think that, like, so you saying that they was putting out music at just kicking out music. Like a lot of music.
Yeah.
They was like doing the future before future. Yeah. But I think that, like, back then it was way different. I think that the times everything was so new and exciting. Even now, today is like new and exciting, but I think kids listen to music differently now.
Totally different.
Yeah, like before it was about like getting the vocals smack on correct and like, writing like songs that came from your heart. And I think now it's just like people want the raw. I think it's more abstract now. I think people want the raw emotion. Even if they don't, I think it's going back to like James Brown. Like when people, like James Brown used to go in the studio and he'd just be like, God dog it, that. Like, it's like you can't write that type of stuff. So I think like kids want the emotion. They want to feel like they there with you because it's hard for us to feel anything like nowadays.
So much product out there too now. So much product out coming quickly,
Right.
And it's just a different experience,
Right.
Totally different. Even the way you make a decision to like, because you're hearing it, there's no album art anymore. You don't have that kind of like interaction with the thing first.
Yeah.
You don't like, look at we were talking about Stevie Wonder and like looking at that cover and being like, oh yeah, that looks dope. I'm going to buy that album.
Right.
It's just, you hear it before you
Stevie
see
Wonder
it.
could put that album out right now, Songs in the Key of Life, and it'll sound like it just came out. That's how ahead of time that man was with that album.
And
his deals. He got like $14 million just to re-sign with Gordy.
There you go. That didn't happen.
That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening. He was like, I'm going to need that bag for this.
That album is amazing to listen to with headphones on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
It's like cozy little sweaters over your ears. They're like the best analog sound.
Yeah. I'm listening to Kraftwerk a lot now. Like, I love those sounds, like just that electronic. And then just like, I watch a lot of documentaries, like crazy documentaries. Yeah. I'm like a Netflix king. Did you see like Star Wars and like basically the evolution of hip hop?
What was the name of that? It's called
The
Evolution.
Evolution of
Oh yeah,
Hip-Hop.
I missed that one.
Yeah, evolution. So it talks about like how in the beginning, like Kraftwerk, a lot of people were sampling like they work early on and just making break beats out of them. And it just, I'm like so caught up in that whole vibe of just those abstract sounds and pipes and just
I watched
reverb.
that Apache documentary last year about the song Apache and how everyone was cutting up that song, and that was like a big source of break beats like back in the day.
I gotta check that
and
out.
Like how it was such a random record put together by a bunch of musicians that didn't know each other. I think it was made in it was made in Vancouver.
Wow.
Which is kind of wild because you think like a breakbeat record would not be made in Vancouver and just like cut in Vancouver. And so many like of the old school songs were like sampled from that or cut from that.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I just want to create a new genre. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to create music. Like, I want people to feel something. Like, my generation and the generation after me, I just feel like we are on we in the search of wanting to feel something. Because, like you said, everything is not physical anymore. Like, everything is digital. I
thought, when the crash happened, in 2008, which is a tough time for me because I was just starting my business, and I was saying that for like a year. I was like, man, the best thing to come out of this is maybe a new music, like a new thing
to represent,
because a lot of like the economic depressions.
Yeah.
Good stuff comes out of it. Like a new musical movement happened.
Right.
So you have like, where hip hop came out of, like in the 80s. it was bad times, on the street. And the early 90s was another bad like recession, and grunge happened, and Seattle happened.
Right.
And that was an amazing movement also.
Right.
So I was like 2008,
Wow.
I was like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it didn't kind of happen. Like the new didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't enough, I don't know. People didn't feel it enough for like something to happen. There was no youth. So something new evolved. But Skrillex is doing beats for you now. So there's a crossover that would never happen
I think
before.
Something is happening now.
Yeah.
It's definitely happening. I just, it's a feeling that I got that I'm gonna forge some new shit that's just gonna go crazy. I just know it. Like I just know that just the information I have in my body, like rhythm wise and just what I've taken in and my teachers and people I've learned from, I know that I'm gonna forge something new, and that's what I'm talking about. Not happening. It's definitely something happening. With the Migos and everybody that's lit right now. Shout out to them. They all my friends, and I make music with them. But I feel like I'm gonna make some new shit that's gonna rock people's socks off.
So you don't think that you don't ever come to a point where you're like, everything's been said. I can't say anything new. How do I do that?
No, because nobody's me. Nobody lives from my perspective. Nobody is grew up on 143rd in Amsterdam. Went from playing basketball in the garbage cans and making duck sauce sandwiches and drinking sugar milk to striving all the way to this point where it's Madonna calls me to the studio and, I get to talk to Puff Daddy on the phone. I like calling him Puff Daddy. and I get insight. You know what I'm saying? For real, and this is, I'm only on, I only did 2 albums and, I'm still early, I feel like, and I'm still learning myself and and I'm still a student. So I just feel like, man, once I master my powers, I'm gonna be lit. And I'm lit. I already got light on me. So it's just once I master it and become the holder of it, I think that is just gonna be a crazy big, it's gonna be the Big Bang.
RZA would like that talk. That's some Shalom stuff, that's
Yeah, no
cool.
doubt. He's the Abbott for real.
Yeah, and I think about that, what's left to say, even what I do, what else can you do to what else can the restaurant do? What else can how can you approach something simple like chicken?
Yeah.
And
innovation.
and it's do you kind of just start repeating yourself or repeating that someone else did before,
Right.
And how do you express yourself?
Right.
What can we do that's new? Well, the old stuff's good too. So what does that mean for where we are now? You know? But I like that. That's maybe some inspiration for me.
What's so funny about food? I am an artist, so I kind of know what flavor they would like on a track. I kind of know what would taste good. If I wanted, if I knew, because some people they don't know how to put taste like seasonings together and stuff that. So
people are afraid.
Yeah, if I'm hungry, I know to get the sazon. I know to get the adobo. I know to get some parsley. I know to get, I know what my taste palette is like. Just like if you got you got a palette for your paints. And you mixing it, you mix the blue, the yellow, and the red to make brown. I know what those flavors, I know how to put those flavors together. But it'll be awesome for me to really get in the kitchen and do some, I've done baked salmon and broiled salmon and, fried rice.
That's a next show, man. You can bring me some baked salmon, and I'll bring you some of my beats, and we'll collaborate.
That'd be fire.
And you can tell me my beats are horrible, and I can tell your salmon needs to a little more salt.
Nah, the last time I made a salmon, it was really dry. It was dry, and it was bad.
Yeah.
I had made it for a special lady. And
How did that go?
It just
Not the salmon part.
I mean, let's just say that I gotta eat for effort.
Yeah, there you go.
And
There you go.
And yeah, the dessert was right after.
Nice.
All right. Thank you guys so much. That was really interesting. We got Aesop Ferg, name checking Francis Mallman, Andrew Carmellini, name checking Migos. That was not scripted. So thank you guys for coming on and being here. And thank you to Sonos for hosting us here in the flagship down on Green Street in Soho in New York City.
Yeah.
There it is.
That was dope. I could talk to you for hours.
That was easy.
Yeah.